You're tuned into the KSO show. I'm Derek Young, joined by Drew Galloway. We're just outside the front gates of Bill Snyder Family Football Stadium, and we just wrapped up a press conference, the first one that wasn't virtual, inside veneer with head coach Chris Klieman for the first time in about 18 months. Tackling some, obviously important offensive topics in the first 4 or 5 days of fall camp. And I think one of the main things was talking about the running back position. You have Deuce Vaughn, you have Joe Irvin, and Jacardia Wright. And Drew, it seems like they still are pretty insistent on giving Deuce Vaughn at least 15 touches.
Yeah, he said somewhere between 15 and 25 touches, but how much it depends on how the game is going and then the development of the other players. He mentioned Joe Irvin. He said Joe Irvin might be he plays the fastest on the team right now.
Yeah, Joe Irvin, not the fastest player on the team, but he plays the fastest. Obviously, those are two different things. At the wide receiver position, I know we had heard some really good things from Tyrone Howell, but he mentioned plenty of other receivers probably before Howell today that had kind of made their mark and have started to ascend.
Yeah, he mentioned Keenan Garber right off the bat, and then Landry Weber, Seth Porter, and a bunch of other experienced guys. Like he obviously mentioned Malik Knowles has had a good camp so far, and then Sebastian Taylor is back, and today was his first day.
Yeah, today was Sebastian Taylor's first day of fall camp. They're taking it easy with him, even though he is fully cleared. It's a process, and it doesn't sound like he's all that close to them wanting to put him full go. So I would still leave his status, for the season opener in Arlington, probably 50-50 at best at this point. Another last thing on the offense was the offensive line. No real specifics other than just, raving about Cooper Beebe as always, but, comfortable enough to where they might play up to 10 offensive linemen per game. We'll see if they can get that high. I'm not so sure. Defensively, I thought the linebacker position was obviously going to be a point of emphasis today. What was your, one thing that jumped out to you about what he said about that group?
The one thing that jumped out to me was that he mentioned Nick Allen right away and said Nick Allen is almost as much of a starter as Daniel Green and Cody Fletcher, which has kind of gone along with what we've heard. And Nick Allen he's on scholarship now and has apparently been standing out a lot during fall camp so far.
Yeah, clearly he's the third linebacker in the rotation at this point. Defensive line, I think they feel good about the depth there. Feel good a lot about the depth in a lot of different places. Chris Klieman answered one of my questions saying that this is the most comfortable he's felt about the roster 1 through 85 since he's been in Manhattan, and I think that goes for the defensive line. Timmy Horn is someone that is doing pretty well, replacing Drew Wiley, who is obviously a huge contributor for the Wildcats in the last couple seasons, but they still don't anticipate getting the same amount of splash plays from the defensive front, but they do like their depth more. Final thoughts would probably end up in the secondary, where he did mention Julius Brents is dealing with a little bit of a soft tissue bug at this point that's hampering him a little bit. It's not viewed as something long term, but it's helped the other young players at the quarterback position get some reps, and they've been impressed as well.
Yeah, Reggie Stubblefield was a guy that was immediately mentioned by Chris Klieman playing at corner, and he's been impressing. He mentioned T. Denson and how T. Denson's going to play a lot of football for K-State during his career as well.
Yeah, T. Denson was probably the corner that got raved the most once we got past the minor injury note with Julius Brents, Echo Boydo improving as well. And then you mentioned Reggie Stubblefield, but he also touched on Sincere Mason as someone that is starting to, become ingratiated within the defense, and he did talk about if they would be ready for the game in Arlington on September 4th.
Yeah, he mentioned that they're both going to be ready, but it's going to take time, and that Reggie Stubblefield has played a lot of football and is really intelligent on that side of the ball and has been impressive, and that they don't have to tell him the same thing twice.
Yeah, and then Jerron McPherson's obviously going to be the leader of that group. That's probably all the major notes I think we've hit, unless you got anything else. And so for Drew, I'm Derek Young. You're listening to the KSO show, and tell your friends.